email last month from a course creator who was absolutely panicking. She'd launched her program 6 months ago. Decent sales, good feedback, but her completion rate was hovering around 12%. So she did what most of us would do. She went back to the drawing board and asked herself, what am I missing? What else do they need? And then she spent the next 3 months creating 7 new modules, advanced strategies, bonus trading, deep dive workshops, a whole resource library. She launched with this big, now with even more content angle. And you know what happened? Her completion rate, it dropped to 8%. 8%. She wrote back to me practically in tears. Rachel, I don't understand. I gave them more. I made it better. Why are even fewer people finishing? And I had to tell her the truth that nobody wants to hear. More content isn't the solution. It's actually making the problem worse. Because here's what I've learned after working with dozens of course creators. Your students aren't struggling because they don't have enough information. They're struggling because they have too much of it. No support to implement it, and no one holding them accountable to actually do the work. So today, we're talking about what course creators should be focusing on instead of adding more modules. And I promise, once you see this shift, you can't unsee it. Let's get into it.
Hi, friends. I'm Rachel Starr, former wedding planner, recovering people pleaser, and someone who once believed hustling harder was the answer. Spoiler, it wasn't. These days, I help creative entrepreneurs build businesses that don't depend on burning out. We're talking collaboration, smart systems, and communities that actually support your growth instead of draining your energy. On Your Community Strategist, we cover everything from launching offers and growing your visibility to finding the right partnerships and creating spaces where people want to show up. If you're done with the solo grind and ready to build smarter with people who actually have your back, stick around. So grab your coffee or sweet tea, settle in, and let's build something better together.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to Your Community Strategist. Okay, let's start with why we all have this instinct to add more content in the first place. Because I've been there, I've absolutely done this. You launch a course, students start going through it, a few people ask questions you didn't cover. Someone mentions they wish there was a module on X. Another person says they'd love a deep dive into Y. And because you genuinely want to help your students succeed, you think, okay, I'll add that. And while I'm at it, I should probably cover this other thing too. Before you know it, your course has ballooned from 8 modules to 15, then 20. Then you've got a whole bonus vault that's basically a second course. And in your mind, you're thinking, this is so much value. They're going to love this. But here's what's actually happening from your student's perspective. They log in, they see 15 modules. Each module has 4 lessons. Each lesson is 20 to 30 minutes long. They do the math. That's like 20 plus hours of content. And they're trying to fit this in between their full-time job, their family, their actual client work, and the 47 other things they're juggling. So instead of feeling excited about all this value, they feel overwhelmed. They think, when am I going to find time for all of this? And that feeling of overwhelm, it's paralyzing. So they watch module 1, maybe module 2. Then life happens, they fall behind, they feel guilty, and eventually they just, well, stop. Not because your content isn't good, but because there's too much of it and no clear path through. Here's the thing that most course creators don't realize. Your students didn't buy your course to consume content. They bought it to get a result. They don't want to spend 20 hours watching videos. They want to solve their problem and move on with their lives. And every extra module you add, you're actually moving them further away from that result, not closer. Let me paint you a picture of what I see happening all the time. You've got a course on, let's say, email marketing. Your students sign up because they want to build their email list and start making sales through email. They log in, they see modules on list building, lead magnets, email sequences, subject lines, copywriting, segmentation, automations, analytics, deliverability. And they're like, okay, where do I even start? So they start at module one, list building, great. But module one is an hour long. It covers organic growth, paid ads, collaborations, SEO strategies, social media funnels. Your student watches it, takes notes, feels slightly overwhelmed, but okay, they're committed. Then they get to module two, lead magnets, another hour. It covers ebooks, templates, quizzes, challenges, webinars. By the time they're done with module two, they haven't actually done anything yet. They're just consuming. And here's the kicker, they have no idea which strategy to actually implement first. You gave them 10 options. They're stuck in decision paralysis. So they think, I'll just finish all the modules first and then I'll implement. We both know what happens. They never finish. Or if they do finish, they're so overwhelmed by everything they've learned that they don't know where to start implementing. Now, let me show you what happens when you flip this approach. Instead of a 60-minute module covering 10 different list building strategies, you create a 15-minute focused lesson on one strategy. Let's say organic list building through your existing audience. You teach them exactly what to do. One clear path, no options, no, you could also try this. Just here's what to do, here's how to do it, here's why it works. Then instead of moving them to module two, you give them space to actually implement what they just learned. Maybe that looks like a community thread where they share their list building plan and get feedback. Maybe it's an accountability check-in where they report back on their progress. Maybe it's a live Q&A where they can troubleshoot what's not working. The point is, they're taking action immediately with support before moving on to the next thing. And here's what's wild. They're going to get better results from that one 15-minute focus lesson with implementation support than they would from your 60-minute module with 10 strategies and no support. Because implementation beats information every single time. Let me tell you what I did with my own courses when I figured this out. I had a program on building engaged communities. It was originally 12 modules. Each module was 30 to 45 minutes long. Tons of information, very comprehensive. And my completion rate was terrible. People would finish modules 1 through 3 and then disappear. So I stripped it way down. I turned 12 modules into 6 focused lessons. Each lesson was 15 to 20 minutes max. But here's what I added. After every lesson, there was a structured implementation week. Students would watch the lesson, then they'd have a full week to apply what they learned with support from me and other students in a dedicated community space. We'd have a live Q&A halfway through the week. They could post questions anytime. Other students would jump in to help. And at the end of the week, before moving to the next lesson, everyone would share what they implemented and what they learned. My completion rate went from 18% to 72%. That's right, 72%. Same content, actually less content, but way more support and structure around implementation. And the testimonials I got were completely different. Instead of, this course has so much great information, I was getting, I actually built my community and it's working. See the difference? So let's talk about what you should be focusing on instead of adding more modules. Number one, clarity over comprehensiveness. Your students don't need you to teach them every possible approach. They need you to teach them one approach that works. Give them the clearest, simplest path from where they are to where they want to be. That's it. Stop trying to cover every edge case and advanced strategy. Those can come later in a different offer. Your course should solve one problem really well, not 5 problems, kind of. Number two, implementation over information. After every lesson, ask yourself, what should students do with this information? Not just think about it or reflect on it. What's the actual action step? And then build in time and support for them to take that action before moving on. This might look like implementation weeks, accountability threads, live co working sessions, peer feedback groups. Whatever structure helps them actually do the thing. Number three, support over self study. Here's the truth. Most people can't successfully complete a course alone in their office at 11 p.m. They need other humans. They need to ask questions when they're confused. They need to see other people implementing the same concepts. They need someone to notice if they disappear. This doesn't mean you have to be available 24/7, but it does mean building in some sort of community support, whether that's a dedicated space, regular Q&A calls, or peer accountability. Number four, progress over perfection. Your students are going to implement your strategies imperfectly, and that's okay. That's actually great because imperfect action beats perfect planning every single time. Stop trying to anticipate every possible scenario in your course content. You can't, and you don't need to. Give them enough to take action. Then support them as they figure out the details for their specific situation. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but Rachel, what about the students who want all the advanced strategies? What if they feel like they're not getting enough? Here's what I've learned. The students who are taking action and getting results never complain about not having enough content. The only people who complain about not enough are the ones who aren't implementing anything. And here's the thing, you can't course create your way out of students not taking action. More modules won't fix that, but structure, support, and accountability will. Think about it this way. Would you rather have a course with 12 modules and a 15% completion rate, where most students feel like failures, or a course with 6 focused lessons and a 70% completion rate, where most students are actually getting results and becoming raving fans? I know which one I'd choose. And from a business perspective, guess which students are more likely to buy your next offer, refer their friends, and leave glowing testimonials? The ones who got results, not the ones who got access to a ton of content they never used. All right, let's get practical. If you have an existing course that's suffering from too much content syndrome, here's what to do. Step one, look at your completion data. Where are students dropping off? That's your first clue. If most people are abandoning ship after module 3, you don't need to make modules 4 through 12 better. You need to figure out what's happening at module 3. Are they overwhelmed, stuck on implementation, confused about what to do next? Step 2, ask your students who didn't finish. I know this feels really vulnerable, but reach out to 5 students who didn't complete your course and ask them honestly what got in the way. I promise most of them won't say there wasn't enough content. They'll say things like, I fell behind and felt overwhelmed, or I wasn't sure how to apply this to my situation, or life got busy and I couldn't keep up. These are all problems you can solve without adding more content. Step 3, identify your core path. If someone could only complete 3 to 5 lessons in your course, which ones would get them the most important results? That's your core path. Everything else is bonus. Consider restructuring your course so that the core path is super clean and achievable, and additional content is clearly marked as go deeper materials for people who want in. Step 4, build in implementation support. This doesn't have to be complicated. Start with one thing. Maybe it's a weekly check-in thread. Maybe it's a monthly live Q&A. Maybe it's peer accountability partnerships. Pick one supportive structure and test it. See what helps your students actually take action. Here's what I want you to remember. Your course doesn't need to be bigger. It needs to be more focused and better supported. The course creators who are really making an impact in 2025 and as we head into 2026 aren't the ones with the most modules or the longest videos. They're the ones who understand that transformation happens through implementation, not information. And implementation requires clarity, support, and accountability, not more content. So if your course isn't getting the completion rates or results you want, I'm giving you permission to stop adding modules. Instead, focus on making the path clearer, the lesson shorter, and the support stronger. Your students will thank you, your testimonials will get better, and you'll finally feel like your course is actually delivering on its promise. And listen, if you're thinking, okay, this makes sense, but I have no idea how to actually restructure my course or build in this kind of support, come join us inside the Co-Creator Society. We've got course creators, community builders, strategists, OBMs who are all figuring this stuff out together and don't believe in the solo grind. We believe the future of creative business is built together with collaboration at the core. And we're kicking off a sprint in November focused specifically on offers, whether that's services, courses, or memberships. We're going to help you clarify what you're actually selling, who's it for, and how to position it so it lands. Head to CoCreatorSociety.com to learn more and join us. The link's in the show notes. And friends, your course isn't broken. It just needs less stuff and more support. Until next week, have a great week. Bye, friends.